So the slide ends. A guy who many of us had as a round one talent, myself included, falls all the way to 83 to Philadelphia Eagles, who I've seen some mocks having him go to the Eagles in round one. So the Eagles getting him in round three. Eagles fans have to be very excited, but we have to talk about why did he fall, along with, why is he so good? So first, I'm just going to talk about the good. I want to talk about the film study, him being a great blitzer, him being a great run defender, all of that good stuff. Then we'll get into kind of the negatives and why I think he fell. So first, let's start off with the film and the positive. So let's start off with a play like this. This is probably what Dean does the best. This is probably his best attribute, I would think, is things like this. Really just, block shedding and blitzing is what he does spectacularly well. Those two things. So his coverage, I don't think is as good as Devin Lloyd's, but this stuff is at least as good, maybe better. The way this play is going to work is the center is going to be the one who eventually goes up to block Dean. That's how this works. So look, right when this play begins, nothing too fancy here. This is kind of what you would expect. Center is in fine position. Dean is in fine position. But this is where Dean, I think, can use his athleticism to his advantage, and he is definitely an athletic linebacker. Watch him just sort of sidestep the center to where the center can't really pull off that block whatsoever. That's just a great play and a great read, right? Because sometimes you do something like that and you get around a center, but then you're, away from where you can make a tackle on the halfback. Well, Dean very much read that, he can make a tackle on the halfback here. And listen, you could argue, Dean had the benefit of playing with this great Georgia defensive line. You could make that argument, but I think there's plenty on tape of him having one-on-one matchups and winning them that I wouldn't really make that argument. Dean does end up having a big impact on that tackle. So really good stuff from Nakobe Dean, and that's, again, what I think Nakobe Dean can do. Going over here now to a blitz play. So his blitzing play is definitely, his block shedding is really good. His run defense is really good. I would say his blitzing is even that much better. I think he's a really good blitzer. Look at how right when this play begins, you do see him. So at this spot, what do? You got to try to find a hole, right? That's kind of what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit the quarterback, but there's extra players blocking on this play. You had, because it's kind of a blitz, but it's not really a blitz because it's still just a four-man rush, but someone dropped back in the coverage, and then Dean is the guy who, is now rushing. It was actually just, there were three players on the defensive line to begin with, and then Dean ends up being the fourth rusher. So one of those weird college sets that you don't exactly see at the NFL level, but what you do see is guys blitzing, right? So, that's kind of what we're evaluating here. However, what do you do if you're Dean here to try to get a pressure? This is pretty well, I want to say defended. That's obviously not the right word, but well blocked up front. And there's plenty of people, in every gap. So Dean can't really get through. If he tries to run to the left side of the screen, there's a tight end and halfback there. If he runs to the right, well, there's a guard 62 there. So what does he do? Well, he simply makes a move on the tight end, runs over the halfback, and then gets to the quarterback for a sack. Listen, it took him a second to get there, not a large time, but a second, but that's not because he did a bad job on that play. Quite the contrary. It was really well blocked, and he was still able to find a way to make a man miss, to run over a halfback, and get to the quarterback for a sack. And that's just something that's cool, and that really jumps out at you when you're watching his film. Something like this is probably a more traditional blitzing play, so that might be something to better look at, as it'll be probably a better tell as what he'll do at the NFL level. But he's going to blitz, and there is going to be a center who can pick him up. So that's the way this play works. But again, what you want to do a lot of times when you're a blitzing linebacker is just have the speed and get somewhere quickly. You look at the good blitzing players in this league, like think about a Jamal Adams, who he isn't a linebacker, but a box safety who kind of has a similar role. And the way that he gets a lot of his pressures is typically by being able to, go quickly, so whoever is trying to block him can't get the hand placement that they want, and then you're able to get to the quarterback. And watch what Dean can do. Watch how Dean is going to get this quick pressure. He surprises the center, so by the point that the center finally gets a hand placement he wants, it's too late at this point. Because if you hold on here, well, that's just a holding penalty, and the quarterback is going to get sacked. But if you don't, or the quarterback's not going to get sacked, but it's a holding penalty, which is almost as bad as a sack. But if you just let go, then the quarterback is going to get sacked, and you're going to be in trouble. So this is a quite the predicament to be in, and this is what Dean can do to you. As you see, Dean is going to be able to pull off this move, he gets the sack there, and that was a big part of that Georgia defense, was him just doing stuff like this, and he could do it consistently. I mean, this is stuff that he's really good at, and this is stuff that matters at the NFL level. Even more basically, something like this, which this is kind of, this is just a smart play, in my opinion. These are kind of the high IQ plays that it's not really necessarily being like someone who's like studying up on film necessarily. It might be, I don't know, but it feels to me to be more instincts than anything, which you can't really teach. So I've circled him on this play. You see where he is. He is going to be blitzing, and just watch how he finds a hole. I mean, look at him. Just he reads the play, reads where the blockers are going, gets through it, and gets to the quarterback. He can just do that so well, and that's just what's cool about him, is he's just someone who can consistently do things like that, and so that's why I like him, and I certainly think that this stuff will translate to the NFL level, and he's not bad in coverage either. Again, Georgia's defense kind of didn't ask him to do that a ton, didn't put a lot on his plate, but what we know that he can do really well, and that's what's cool about him. So yeah, all that stuff, you're probably saying like, yeah, that guy looks like a top 20 talent. Why did he fall so far? Well, there's a couple of things. So I don't know how true this is, but there was a report that he has several injuries, including a torn pec. And with that pec injury, I guess he refused to get surgery, or like doesn't want to get surgery, which teams now view as a red flag. So if that's the case, that's kind of a weird thing, but you do kind of feel like, okay, well, he's a great football player. Maybe there's injury issues, but eventually you'll still be good. So I feel like that doesn't entirely explain why a first-round talent would fall to round 3, but that could be a part of it. I think another part of it as well is there are some, I think, very legitimate concerns that even I had right away, which is why I was kind of fine with him not going in round 1 if it fell a certain way, and even, early round 2 as well. I think you could have made the argument just on tape alone due to the fact that a lot of his wins did come because the Georgia defensive line does a great job of kind of funneling guys right to him. He can run up and just make the tackle. But that being said, I thought he did a good job even with knowing that. Like, you can still evaluate a player and notice that a lot of the help comes from, the team around him. And also, he got a blitz on a lot of third downs. He wasn't asked to cover. So that's another reason why maybe he fell a little bit. But I don't know. This just feels like, again, the talent they're getting feels like more than a third-round talent. I think he'll be successful in the NFL. This could be a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah thing, where he was someone many thought would go into, mid-first round. He fell to round 2 at, I believe, 54, I want to say, to Cleveland, and it was really good as a rookie. Maybe Dean will have a similar trajectory, so remains to be seen, but is interesting. So, yep, that's what I think about Nakobe Dean. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.